intermission will be Ingrid Nixon, who came to us all the way from Sequim, Washington, and she's going to tell us the story of the second voyage of Sinbad the sailor, which starts in the Persian Gulf and then beyond.
I went to a banquet, and as we were eating, there at the table was a guest of honor. It was Sinbad the sailor. And at the end of the meal, we said, "Sinbad, tell us a story." And at first he demurred. But then he stood up and he said, "I will tell you a story, but first you must agree that everything I say is true." When I came back from my first voyage, I was a very wealthy man. So I gave many alms to the poor, and then I settled down to a quiet life. I soon grew bored. So I decided to throw my lot in with a group of merchants. I traded in all my riches for goods, and we set sail. We went from island to island, and I'd like to say I made many good bargains. But there was one day when we landed on an island. The island was covered with fruit trees. It had rich, sweet water. But strangely, the island was uninhabited. So we went out exploring. I went off with my own provisions, and it was about midday when I ate a light snack, drank a little wine, sat under a tree, and fell asleep. When I woke up, I had this strange, eerie feeling. It was too quiet. I thought, no. I ran down to the beach. I looked out. No. The ship was gone. No. They couldn't have left me on that island. No. Surely they would have noticed that I was missing. No. But in the end, yes. They had left me behind. When I got my wits about me, I climbed a tree. I looked out to see there was no ship. And so I turned and I looked inland. And that is when I saw the white thing. It was huge. I had no idea what it was. I climbed down from a tree, I made my way across the island, and soon I stood before this enormous white orb. It was just resting there on the ground. I walked around, it was 50 paces in diameter. And it was smooth to the touch, and there was no way I could climb on it. And as I puzzled this huge white orb, all of a sudden there was a shadow over the sun. And I looked up and I saw an enormous bird. Now you have seen eagles, yes? You have seen vultures, yes? They are nothing compared to this bird that was flying above me. It was a roc. A roc is so big that it eats elephants the way owls eat mice. Well, the roc, it circled and then it landed on the ground and it came and it settled over the white orb, its egg. I pressed against the orb to keep from being crushed. And right there in front of me was the bird's talon. And its leg was as big around as a full-grown tree. That's when I got an idea. I climbed up on that talon, I undid my turban, and I used that linen to tie myself to the roc's leg. And then I waited. And in time, the roc stood up, stretched its wings, flapped, and we were off. We sailed higher and higher and higher. Soon I lost sight of the earth. And then at last the bird zoomed down so quickly I almost passed out. And then it landed on the ground and I quickly untied my turban and jumped off the talon, and just in time. Because that bird, it leapt forward, grabbed a snake in its beak, whacked that snake on the ground, and then flew off. And then I had a chance to look around where we had landed. And I thought, I should have stayed on the other island. Because the other island had fruit trees, it had water, but where I was now, it was a desert. So I began to walk. I appeared to be in a broad valley where suddenly the walls went up, straight up into the clouds. No way to escape. And as I walked through that barren valley, I started to notice that on the ground there were these stones. And when I picked up the stones, they were most enormous diamonds I'd ever seen. And they were exquisite. And I realized I had heard the sailors talk about the Valley of the Diamonds. Now that made me happy, but then I realized I was stuck in this valley. So I continued to walk. Eventually I grew tired, and I sat down on the ground. And when I sat down, all of a sudden, before me, there was this tremendous thump. And when I looked up, right in front of me, there was this enormous chunk of meat. And then there was this thump, 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 as these pieces of meat came raining down through the sky. They were the size of a goat, half a cow. As I puzzled out this meat, all of a sudden, an eagle flew down, grabbed one of those pieces of meat, and was gone. And that's what I remembered. I remembered the sailors talking about the Valley of the Diamonds, and the way the merchants had come up with an amazing way to capture these stones. When they threw the meat over the side of the valley, it landed with such force that the diamonds would stick to the meat. And then the eagles would swoop down, pick up the meat, and fly up to the edges of the valley to their nests. Genius. That's when I got an idea. I walked around, I picked up these beautiful diamond stones, the finest I could find, and I stuck them in my pocket. And then I found a suitable piece of meat. I undid my turban. I tied the meat to my back, and then I laid down on my belly and waited. I did not have to wait long. The eagle flew down, picked up the chunk of meat tied to my back, and flew up to the edge of the valley and settled me gently in its nest. And then I heard cries and shouts, and I looked up and I saw merchants coming towards us swinging sticks, and the eagle flew off. And you see, the merchants would run up to the meat and take the diamonds away. I untied myself from my chunk of meat and I stood up. The merchants were not happy to see me. But I said to them, if you knew what I had been through, you would show me some sympathy. But perhaps this will sweeten the pot. And so I pulled the diamonds out of my pockets and I offered them to the merchants. Now it turns out that every merchant had his specific nest. And so in the end, I offered all the diamonds that I brought to my one merchant. He took one. He took a diamond, it wasn't even the biggest diamond. But he said, this diamond is so fine that this diamond alone is better than any other diamond I have gotten from this town. This is good for me. So I was left with many diamonds in my pockets. I stayed with the merchants for 1 week, 2 weeks, until the young eagles had fledged. And then together we made our way toward the coast when we met with a ship, and we set sail. And in time, I made it back to Baghdad. I gave away my riches to the poor, kept enough for myself, and now I have settled back down because these days I seek a quiet life. And with that, Sinbad sat down, and we all said, and we stood up to leave, but the host said, no. There are more stories to come. And to that we said, praise Allah.
Okay, we're going to have a brief intermission. I'm thinking 15 minutes, so we're going to come back at about 4:35. And I want you, while you're